Yes, thank you all for joining me today for another Open Doorway service. Few unfamiliar faces, but they will no longer be unfamiliar. They will be friends and maybe even become part of the family. Welcome to the new faces as well as the familiar faces. Most of us know how this will go, but before I do that, I just wanted to quickly introduce our guest speaker this evening. I'm really excited about having him join us. Mr. Lee, the Mandala medium, who gave a little bit of a wave here, and he's going to give us a talk and talk to us about what he does as the Mandala medium, and we'll look at get to look at some pictures of that I have here of some of the mandalas that he has channeled, and so I have that to look forward to a little bit later. But before we do, let's begin with an invocation. So let's close our eyes for a moment. Take a deep breath in. And breathe out. If there was any stress today, let that fade away. Divine Parent, thank you for granting us this space as we can gather together as a community of like-minded individuals and have this space where we can share light, love, support, and wisdom together as a community, as a family. And with this, ever in your loving embrace, Amen. And if you are so inclined or wish to join us in reading our Spiritualist Principles, you may do so. And I will go slowly as I read them. We subscribe to the following principles: infinite intelligence, the deity, the designing and creating energy for everything in the universe. One universe, many dimensions. From one source came all that is present in our world, our galaxy, and beyond. The immortal soul. The soul is eternal. We seek truth within ourselves, from other souls, from sacred writings, and from the natural order that sustains us. Communication between the material and the non-material world. Spirit transcends all dimensions. All souls, flesh, and spirit communicate with each other. Personal responsibility. Cause produces effect through thoughts, words, and deeds. We create ourselves in our circumstances, and we are singly responsible for our choices and creations. The golden rule: do unto others as you would have them do unto you. It is our highest morality. Okay. Hey, Mom.
Hi, sweetheart.
All right. So at this point in the portion of our service, I'd have everybody, if you open your eyes from the prayer, close them again, and we're going to begin entering a space of meditation and healing. So if you have to, wiggle in your chair a bit, maybe flatten your feet, or maybe adjust your legs if you're Indian style, sitting Indian style. And just get comfortable. Now take a few deep breaths in through your nose and breathe out through your mouth. Really feel the passing of air out your mouth. Take another deep breath in through your nose, hold it for a moment, and release. The body begins to feel very relaxed. Any tension in your shoulders and neck fade away. With every breath, your body relaxes. You feel much lighter. Much lighter than the moment before. Your arms and hands begin to relax. Any tension fading away. Any tightness in your hips and legs, it all begins to drift away with every breath. Feeling much lighter. Feeling warmth around you. Any pain or discomfort in your feet also begins to fade away. And at this point, your body is fully relaxed. Chair, couch, or whatever you're sitting on, it also begins to fade away. And you are floating. Completely weightless. Feeling completely supported. The room around you sense it. You feel it. It's tangible around you. Slowly begins to fade into the background. You're completely surrounded in white light. A beautiful, bright white light. You feel its kindness. You feel its love. You feel its healing energy. It's pulsating. To the rhythm of your heart. Let that light connect to the rhythm of your heart. Feel the light pulsating fast. Slow it down. Let it pulsate to the rhythm of your calm heart, a relaxed heart. Heart willing to receive healing energy and love. You're entranced in this pulsating light. Feeling calmer, feeling completely at peace. In the space you find yourself in. Now, this pulsating light slowly moves closer to you, as though it's a thick cloud drifting towards your body. Let it surround you. touch your skin. Allow it to be breathed in. Knowing that this light will go to wherever you need healing. Take in this white light. Accept it. Allow it to heal. Any ailments, any stresses, any tension, any worries, any negative thoughts. Let those be taken over by this white light in and around you. I'll leave you there for a moment, basking in its healing energy and warmth. After having received this healing energy, this light, in a whisper, asks you for anyone that needs healing too. And you may quietly, in your mind, think of the names, or faces of those who also need this healing light. Maybe parts of the world that also need this healing light. Just in your mind, think of these places and those people. And this light will accept that intention. Now, having been filled with this intention to give this healing energy to others, a cloud of light begins to slowly move back, drifting back. Light fades. And it drifts and fades and disappears into the walls that surround you. Having received that intention to heal others, you go out into the world and offer that light and that healing to those people and places that we thought of in our minds. Feeling restored, feeling energized, and feeling warmth. You know too that you have received that healing light and energy. Before you come back into the room you find yourself in, you may offer in your mind, quietly under your breath, a gesture of gratitude and thanks. The Spirit, the power of healing. You begin to feel some tingling in your toes and fingers. Some weight comes back to your legs and arms. Feel the chair or couch underneath you. Begin to feel your neck and shoulders. And when you are ready, you may open your eyes and return. Yeah, you have to roll your neck and maybe wiggle your shoulders or feet. If you hear a few cracks, then that may be a good thing. And thank you for going on that little trip with me. And I'd have everybody read along with me. Oop, not that. The prayer for spiritual healing. We ask the great unseen healing force to remove all obstructions from our minds and bodies and to restore us to perfect health. We ask this in all sincerity and honesty, and we will do our part. We ask this great unseen healing force to help both present and absent ones who are in need of help and to restore them to perfect health. We put our trust in the love and power of Spirit. Amen. For the brief next portion of our service, as a lot of frequent Open Doorway people have attended my services, at least online, before in the past. Back in March of last year, with very little overhead, we felt that it didn't really feel good for us to ask for donations or ask for money when so many people needed help and so many people needed the funds to receive that help. So what we have been doing is, with these online services, featuring a organization or a nonprofit or charity that we deem that deserves your attention, your help, and if you are so inclined, maybe a few dollars. And the theme that has really been coming up, or I shouldn't say the theme, but the message that I've been getting a lot this week is our children, the children in our world. There's a lot of pain there right now going on with our children, and we should protect them and foster them and help them to grow. And the first and initial way of doing this is by feeding them, by giving them sustenance, food to grow with. And I didn't feel as though that from all the charities that and organizations that I have come across does a better job than UNICEF, who has been doing this since 1946 and has impacted the lives of so many children, and the children in especially war-torn areas of the world. And right now, our future generation needs our help, and UNICEF is doing their best to help both those areas where children need food and sustenance, but they also are taking in stride, of course, the current pandemic that is still going on in other parts of the world. And of course, the last service, I talked a bit about India and their growing problem and continuing problem. And UNICEF is actually one of those organizations that is seeing that need and addressing it. So they not only help other parts of the world, but they also are putting their resources and their any funds that come their way to the problem at hand as well. And so if you are so inclined and wish to help support this wonderful organization, I'm sure you've all heard of UNICEF at some point in your life. Audrey Hepburn was a huge proponent of UNICEF, was the spokesperson for so many years for UNICEF. But I'm not sure if a lot of people realize that the reason why she felt so empowered or so pulled to help UNICEF and be a speaker for them is that UNICEF helped her when she was a child in war-torn Belgium, and she was starving, and UNICEF fed her, and that had always remained. That impact, that generosity, always remained in the back of her mind and her heart, even in through her successful career and into adulthood. And when they had asked if she would help them, it was a no-brainer. So a little fun fact that maybe some of you didn't know, but yes, UNICEF, and I'll put the link in the chat for everybody to click on if they wish to take a look more into UNICEF and contribute and how they see fit. So the other fun part of our service today is, and I always really enjoy this part of the service because we get to meet some really cool people. And I'm very, very honored and pleased to introduce Lee, the Mandala medium, who I have met recently, and we immediately talked about, let's get you in front of the Open Doorway family, talk about what you do. And he's been doing this work since, what is it, 1988? Lee, not to date you, but you are a soul coach, psychic medium, and a trance channeler as well. And you channeled these beautiful mandalas that come from a higher source, higher power. And without further ado, I'll have Lee really explain it to us all, and we'll show some of those images for you all to see today.
Thank you, Terence. I do have, if you want, Terence, I have some.
Oh,
show that way.
The old-fashioned way. Yes, let's do it that way too.
We'll keep it very OG. It's great to have everybody here. Of course, we have a perfect dozen. Love it. As a number of you, I can kind of feel you're becoming more connected to the synchronicity. This is showing up in numbers and patterns. These numbers and patterns represent a sense of belonging and an affirmation of your own purpose, if you would. They're not random. 444, 11111, street signs, certain names, etc. And a lot of, back in the day, there was this concept of natural knowing. Natural knowing is this belief that, and a lot of times that I'm working with people, I tell them, I'm not really doing anything but reminding you what you already know. It's like we wake up. I've always felt that once I die, they pull off the headphones and go, "How was your trip? Was it great?" This experience, this experiment in this reality has with it certain kinds of organizational principles and rules. There are certain kinds of systems that exist within it. One of the most common ones is found in this principle of the golden ratio. The golden ratio, or the Fibonacci sequence: 1 plus 0 is 2, 2 plus 1 is 3, 3 plus 2 is 5, 5 plus 3 is 8, etc. This is an aspect of fractals. So when you look at a tree or a life form, a helix, proportions of the body, these patterns show up. They repeat over and over again. It's basically taking a shape, shifting it a little bit, rotating it a little bit, repeat, repeat, repeat. And these patterns have within them a kind of a reinforcement of our own kind of alignment to spirit. When we go into a meditative state like we were, and we disconnect from our egos, we get deeper into our own sense of what it is that truly matters, independent of all of this stuff, we realign ourselves in a way that's empowering. But when we do this with visuals, we can do this through nature, art, the way we organize our room. Sometimes we'll take certain things and move them in a certain way. We don't even necessarily know why. And no, it's not necessarily OCD. It's just how it is that it suits us. And this kind of pattern kind of like goes on the DL. And I have seen like certain kinds of like, this is the basis of feng shui. Why is it that we have certain things in certain positions? Because it accommodates the energy better. A lot of what the work that I do and a lot of my experience has been, it's not so much I try to make it happen, I allow it. I allow the experience to show me what it is that I need to do. I allow it to show me what it is that works for me. And the key is to get out of my own way. So I've been, since a little kid, very connected to the spiritual realm. I saw auras as a child, you know, and all sorts of fun things. And I talked to my dead grandmother, you know, and she would tell me all sorts of, she would instruct me for about 10, 12 years. And she was kind of like, and she sort of went out. But when I was really young, I was fascinated by geometry. I loved Etch-a-Sketch, and then I loved spirograph. And I just love shapes, and I have this ability to organize shapes. If you ever go to the museum, they have these tests, like take shapes and assemble something. I can do it very quickly. I have this three-dimensional thing that I can do. And when I was a little older in this fascination, I went to art school. I got involved in that because I just love planes and color, etc. And I started having these visions. And one of the ones that I had was connected to sacred geometry. In this, back in the 1980s, I was out and had a vivid dream. I'm sure a bunch of you have had these. They're like in Technicolor, where the colors are wet and dripping and everything is very powerful. And within that dream, so I kind of get my attention. In that dream, behind this castle wall with all of these religious figures flicking up on these 3 panels, behind that wall, whatever I would think would metaphorically express out of the lawn. It would just pop out like birds, like doves or trees or something. And one of them was this image, because I wanted to know what my friend Joey, very close friend of mine, very kind of kindred spirit, looked like. And in it, it was a triquarto, which it's a common symbol, but it popped out of the ground. And I drew it. Okay. So I never really knew where to go with all of this stuff. So like many years later, like 3 years ago, I was showing this to a medium, to intuitive, my drawing I had done. I just said, you know what, I want to show this to you. He goes, I can tell his nature through your drawing. And I went, no way. And he told me, now granted, he's a medium, so he's picking up some things, but I can tell the way it's organized. And so if you know, as he goes on about it, I said, well, that's really on. He goes, I think that this is something you can do. This will be like a geometric representation of a spirit. This would be like a two-plane, not 4D, two-plane dimensional expression, because when I see them, they're in 3-dimension, they have color and sound, and they're spinning, and it's all this, but I break them down into 2D, because that's what I work in. He goes, I think you'll be able to do this for different people. And then I had a friend who had passed, and prior to his passing, he said, I'm going to help you when I go to the other side. And I was like, okay. And I had left, and I was working on this other thing for a person, and I had this vision. Now I'm getting them during the day, and I drew it, and it had the same kind of thing. And then they just kept coming. And when I talk to people and they want one, they come in. There's a period in the morning, like for me, I don't know about anybody else, but I sleep, when I go to sleep, I kind of wake up around 5 or 6, and then I go back in, and that's when I hit that nice REM state. And when I'm in that REM state, it's like, yay. And then all of that wild intuition comes in, and I get all of the images, and then I write them down. And then I just develop them. What's really fascinating is when I show these to people, they tell me why they're relevant. I don't necessarily know that. Like one might look like globes, and someone says, oh, I collect globes. One of them looks like Osiris. I studied Osiris in school. It's a fascinating part of my life, et cetera, et cetera. And when they stare at them, many people cry when they see them. So I'm going to kind of like show some. So there was one woman, Alexandra. She's a psychic from Portugal. She had sought me out because I was working with, I did one for a person who was part of their meditative group, meditative circle. She goes, there's something here. She asked me to come and visit with her, and she goes, these are portals. These portals act as access routes into consciousness that transcend this kind of ephemeral, or get you out of this into this deeper kind of awareness. And she was very potent about it. She goes, and then she was telling me, why did you wait so long? And I was like, well, if I knew, but you know, she said, go with it, just keep going. And so I have. So this is, and some of them are protective, like some of them are energizing, some of them are calming. Some of them kind of like heal certain aspects. Some of them are more about industry. Some are more about family. But they all have this kind of healing quality. The one that I did, this is a woman, Jamie Stowe. She's a medium, not far from where I am. When I did this one for her, this has a healing quality to it. So the way that I do these is I start with this line drawing here. And that's what, because that kind of is the sense of what comes in. It's all this craziness, but I usually get like a line drawing. Then I go to this, and then I do the final, this. And when I do this, I then present it as a larger thing. And the people are like, they tell me, her son, who's a very gifted, told me all about this, the Firebird. You can see there's an Ankh in here, and all of this connects to her. Some of them, and this is the one that was done for the woman who is from Portugal. And they translate into other things, like they translate into jewelry. Sacred geometry is set up that it has a multidimensional approach to it. It can be used into everything. It just works. It's like, it just works across all different kinds of applications. And it's really wild because it's not how I was thinking about it when I did it. The other thing that kept coming up too is that for some people, when I did one of them, this is going back a while, I did one for this woman, and I did this. And I'm looking at it and I'm going, this looks like it's something stellar. So and I went, I'd never done this before. I went, this is just too weird. So I looked at different kinds of constellations, and I kept going and going and going and going and going. And the Pleiades came up. So the Pleiadian star system actually aligns with this. To make matters crazier, When I read the Pleiadian starseed characteristics, they resonated with her so completely. She called me up and she was just like wild about it. Then she told me, I read more about it, and she said, I've never told this to anybody, but according to my readings, we're visited between the ages of like 5 and 11 by our brethren over there to remind us of who we are. And I was visited by a total alien creature in my crib when I was like a young child. I have never mentioned this to anybody. I screamed and they disappeared. Then there is this one. So this is done for a woman who is Dutch, and hers is Arcturian. And they aren't all like this, but there is a dimension to them. It's kind of like the movie Contact. You take the information, you line it up one way, it says this. If you flip it on its side, it tells you this. If you go on another angle, it tells you this. But all of those things add up to a singular organized message that coordinates with all of the different interpretations. It is an efficiency that I can't even begin to describe. It transcends anything that I can fully comprehend. And I just, as I do it, I'm just like mystified. Now, the woman who was from Portugal said that I was, oh, she said, you're working with Metatron. This is a Metatron thing. And I was telling her, who's Metatron? Because I didn't know. And then she's like, well, and then she kind of went in, and then I started having these weird experiences. And when I've worked with other intuitives, they'll tell me Metatron's very strong with you. Sometimes they're even like the Syrian planet, which is a little bit harder. It was harder to find the right orientation on it, but that one also came up. There's some kind of like universal organization and efficiency that when we get into it, which can't be, I've tried to do these designs as a design and they're horrible. Like if I try to make something pretty, it's disastrous. It has to be done intuitively. It has to be done from a perspective of allowing. And I just will sit and I'll meditate and the information will come. Some of the people that I've been working with then take them and then we use them with affirmations and crystals. And we combine them into these different kinds of forms because again, it can work across different planes, there's different ways of doing it. Another example of this is here you can see it as a tattoo, as a three-dimensional image cut into wood, and as a clock. I swear to and I am as blown away as everybody. I told my father, who's very gifted, I said, what the hell? Like, how is this happening? He looked at me and he goes, well, this is as it should be. I said, what do you mean? He said, look, he said, if this was a technique or if this is something that, you know, you'd fuck it up. You have to get out of your way with this. You can't claim it. You have to just allow it. You're just a trusted servant. You're a facilitator. And then other people, and some of these people use it they really go the full distance. Like this is something that is used for that chakra. And that's where she put it on and her life changed. People have very powerful results with them. People's pets play with them. The cats, I have to make up sometimes for the people's cats because the cats keep grabbing up at the mandala on the wall on there, and we give them so they can play with them. And then in some cases too, they're even used like this from a feng shui standpoint. This business has feng shui. I mean, I'm learning about this. I really didn't know. If you have a street and you have a road that comes towards your home, that is bad. I mean, that is really bad. It's like, just come in and kill, you know, it's just like opening up this danger zone. And this business has always failed there. And when I did this mandala, the person in the feng shui said, that's a protection. You're redirecting the energy away from the door. In other words, the ongoing traffic, because the traffic would be coming towards this because there's an intersection in front of this, is being, the energy is being pushed aside so that you're protected. But I'm not doing this consciously. I find out about it later. And then when I'm doing this, and this is again for everybody and everything that they're doing, because I only started doing this recently, I just kind of meditate, and then it tells me what to do next. And so this happened. And the affirmation will be on the bottom, but this will all be printed on this glass, on these acrylics. It gives it a different kind of scope. In some cases, they'll be carved into the wood, or they'll be carved into the glass to give it some kind of scope. And the other one, when we're doing like with crystal grids, this is fun. This. This is done for a woman who is like a living crystal. Her relationships with crystal is crazy. And by the way, this is actually a subatomic particle, which connects to crystals. Or the other one, and I looked this up, but this thing, because there's a thing called the Tree of Life. And the Tree of Life, if I can find this, is something that you see all over the place. People have them hanging down. And I channeled this for a very, 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 very big time medium. So you can see the Tree of Life is in the yellow, and her mandala is in the front. I found this out later. But if you play with that in dimension, you get this. Now people want to do these things massively, sculpturally, 7 feet. I talked to a guy yesterday who wants to do one, do a massive workup for his wife. I have learned in this, just keep moving. Life will let it happen if it's meant to be. I even have little things where I have resin jewelry, which I'm starting. And each of these little pieces has, and all of these people are volunteering and helping me. So we have a little thing here on the front. This gets embedded into a piece of resin. And then on the back of it is the affirmation. It's wild. It's wild. When I did this, I had no idea where this would go. I'm 63. I've been doing things for a while, but I've never hit my stride. And I have been through a very, very difficult time with things. And I think that I needed to go through that so my ego wasn't in the way. So that when I do this work, I can keep it pure. Otherwise, I'm projecting. And I really do feel like I'm just this little cobbler, doing my little thing here. I have people who aspire and they tell me that I'm just doing my little thing and I'm happy with that. And it fits. And I do believe that sacred geometry, with a lot of other intuitive work, is growing and fast. And we're in the process of developing a program where people can be taught, or just kind of, I don't know if teaching is actually accurate, but more facilitate a way in which they create their own sacred geometric something. They can. Kids are so, when I go and I bring this stuff out in an event, it's children under the age of 10 that run to it. I can't tell how many parents are like pulling their kids. I don't know what that is, honey. I don't, but There's one place in a massive spa facility, gym and health, wellness, all that stuff. She had one contracted, so it's 7 feet diameter in the entrance of her building. And when people are feeling sick, she'll say, go to the front desk, stand in front of the mandala. You'll feel better. I thought she was kidding, but they do. And so it goes. So what happens next? I have no idea. I just keep moving. I just keep swim, Nemo, swim. See what happens next. But I really am glad that Terence invited me. It's been fun. Thank you. Thank you all.
Thank you, Lee. Sorry, I forgot where the mute button was for a moment, because I was still laughing at the at just, you know, your experience is really just amazing, and it's really fantastic. All that can be done from this work that you're doing, and how much it can be. What really stood out for me in the talk, and what this seems like the theme is, yes, you were meant to do this work, but this work is meant to just like be like you throwing seeds in a field. It's like you're like, it can be incorporated in like everywhere, and give so much to others, and that's really amazing. And that universal design that you mentioned, yeah, we talk about that all the time. So it makes sense that the galaxies and constellations would come up in the images that you're just channeling, and I'm sure they, like, spirit, higher power, this, you know, they probably keep you in the dark just so that it is a little bit of a surprise for you, to keep you grounded, because it's a lot of energy.
There are people. There was one woman who I had, she put hers in her bedroom and she couldn't sleep. She needed energy, and then all of a sudden she had so much of it. And she put it in the living room, and then her daughter, the relationship improved. And so, I mean, I'm constantly surprised, you know, and I'm pinching myself, because it's, everybody has their own different experience about it. But this is the thing that I get to when something's working. This is true for anything, for anybody. I've done a mandala for the person who's the branch manager of my bank. I've done a mandala for my doctor. I've done a mandala for my accountant. People have given me tables for events. They've given me tents for events. They shave off money for events. They cover the expenses for events. They invite me to things and then they pay for it. They just do things for me. And I don't ask, I'm just like, really? And then they just go, no, we should do it. And it's so weird. The thing about that is, this is true again of anything. When it works, people want to be a part of it and they jump in. Mm-hmm. And when it's trying to be like, I need to, it just never goes there. It just doesn't flow. There's no movement to it, mm-hmm. because it's not, I mean, as much as I am the facilitator, the greater part of this is about other people. Mm-hmm. And I work with this woman, and I told her, I said, I know, I'll be keeling over, you'll be running with this, God bless, have fun. I give them to people sometimes, make it into a design, love it, great, have fun. Enjoy, you know. I need, you know, to keep a roof over my head, but I'm like, come on, we'll just get that out there to the world. And the responses, because of that, have really affirmed that is what I'm supposed to do. And I've been really living that. And if I'm with somebody and it's not working, I don't sit there and try to convince them. I go, fine. And then I go on. There's no point wasting energy. Mm-hmm. And I respect people's point of views. And so some people, it doesn't work, and that's great. That's fine. But I can't get over especially recently, things are really moving. I mean, it's odd, because the more I'm physically relaxed, the faster I go.
Mm-hmm. That makes sense, yeah. I feel as though the energy I feel with the group is that everybody's just like, wow. First of all, wow, and everybody has a lot to think about. You probably have a lot. People tell you that all the time, don't they, Lee? You have that effect on people.
Well, yeah. I mean, you know, when I go out, you know, a half-hour thing will be like 3 hours long. I am interested if anybody has any questions. I mean, I know you're the facilitator here, but I'm open to that.
Yeah, everybody, they can unmute your mics and ask questions. Galore. Lee is here. I feel like when you showed the jewelry, my mother like.
Oh, I did. I'm wondering if when Lee works, are the colors coming to him as well?
What happens is there's the dream, there's the image, it's moving. So I have to do like a screen capture of it. I mean, these things would be better as three-dimensional objects, moving with sound and scent. That they're complete entities. But when I do the little screen capture, I have a sense of it. And then what I'm doing is, it's kind of like what a person does when they sculpt. You create the shape and then you sculpt back, and what's left is the color. Oh, here's another thing. So a bunch of you have your own cosmic hellos, right? You have a sense when you know the thing is true. Your spine tingles, you have a kind of a reaction, you might have a burst of energy. When I do them, I have a kinesthetic reaction that tells me when I'm, because one of the biggest things about design in all aspects is knowing when to stop. And that there's a feeling of, this is it, done. And I have this rush of energy, and then I get this like, oh, and then I have an affirmation that goes with all of these that is done in the language of the person's energy. So if I'm working with somebody, I do it it could be in Japanese, it could be in Hebrew, it could be in Russian, it could be in Hungarian. I've done them in many languages. It could be in one of the, like, I did one with someone from Ghana. But there's so many languages in Ghana, I keep forgetting which one. But all of them are tailored, because the libretto is very important. So the shape is one thing. And then of course the affirmation tied with it in a meditative way is another. And then if you do it what's really interesting, and I'll say to people, even if you don't know the language itself, say it in the words, because your genetics, your structure is kind of saying, this is what I'm used to, do it. People do this with food, they do this with other things where they tailor their diet to their structure. So sometimes words are the same way, they work better. And we don't necessarily even have to know what they mean, we'll just feel it, which is weird, but it's true.
Wow. Well, yes, we got a question over here. Amy.
Yes, hi, how are you? My name is Amy. I'm just wondering, so when you get your downloads, if someone inquires to have this done by you, how long does it take that? How many times do you get downloads for one mandala?
So there'll be so what happens is,
and do you meditate? You have to meditate on it.
Oh God, yeah.
Right.
I mean, I walk in shops, because recently Holly and myself, we've been checking out a lot of crystal shops, and I'm constantly finding myself saying to if the owner really meditates, I'm like, I really love your energy. It's great that they're like, oh, really? And then like, it's really wonderful. It's so healing. I love that. I get an image that's pretty solid. I do think over time it may change, because maybe an aspect of that personality may evolve a little bit. There might be a peeling away, if you would. But they're usually basically one simple shape, or one very involved shape. And then as I peel it back over time, so I get the first download, and then what I do is I plop them out. I take the line drawing and I stare at it. And then it will come to me. And then I'll sketch again. And then I'll walk away. I don't sit there at the computer and like do it. I look at it, come back, look at it, come back, look at it, come back, and then it comes in. The focus and intention of our thinking is complemented by the reward of the information we're looking to find. Where you direct your thinking is where you get your answer. So if my directed thinking is, please provide for me the answer that best suits this person and assist in their being and becoming and their healing, etc., that's what I got. The process of it can be lengthy, and it depends. Like, I've done them for organizations and I've done them for families. I did it for one organization, and I had to call them and I said, why does your staffing keep changing? And they're like, well, what do you mean? I said, because I have 7 petals, then I have 5 petals, then I have 8 petals, then I have 6 petals, then I have 8 petals. She goes, oh, we're going to resolve that soon. We're working on that. Okay, I'll tell you what, you work on that, you finish that, and then we'll do it, because your energy and your movement, which you have free will, is shifting all over the place, and I can't necessarily keep up with some of that. And then we did the final, and then that was that, and then it worked. It was so, I knew it because the design actually resolved itself. Once they made their decision, the design was done. And then the count was perfect because there were 3 owners, and there's 3 basic spheres, and there's 7 leaves, and there's 7 different managerial departments within that. So it was perfect. And again, I didn't know. And it also works as a fountain too, which is really weird because of this water theme that goes on with that business. Water is a crystal. Water is a big part of the work. There is some connection with water in me too. I don't know what that's about, but it's fun.
Well, it has to flow through you, right?
It's a part of, yeah, it's a lot of it. Yeah, let the river run. It has to, because all inflammation is a block of energy, right? So everything needs to kind of flow.
Huh, wow. Well, you know, you certainly will be hearing from me, Lee. I'm sure that there will be. My mother's already thinking of like, I think we need a family crest from Lee.
I mean, when they have them, they use them on everything. They use them for their corporate ID. They use them on the cover of their book. They make stained glass windows out of them. They make, they do all sorts of fun things. And it's theirs, they do what you want to do. And it's great. And I get off, I love that. I was talking to this guy who does woodwork. Yes, he's also a doctor. He's also an OBGYN of all things. But he was like, okay, I can. And I said, yeah. I said, let's kind of play with this. So he's going to be combining. He goes, I think I'm going to combine different kinds of metals. I said, ooh. I said, you're in the upper echelon of the intuitive world. He goes, what you mean? I said, that's alchemy. That is like the highest end of it, because that is complicated. Now you're dealing with 3-dimension structure, color, texture, and also the different kinds of metals and materials. That is super sophisticated. I said, good luck. I can't wait to see what you do. I may or may not be able to help you with this, but you'll feel it. I said, this is designed to feel. And help his hands. He has arthritis. I said, I think this will help your hands. You'll be doing something loving.
Yeah, wow. Symbols are very, the intention, the energy, it has a physical manifestation or effect on people, because, as you say, all energy. So
yeah, when I did the ayahuasca ceremony, and not a lot of, apparently other people didn't have this experience, I saw the codes going around the people's bodies, flowing around them. And the glyphs were tailored to their culture. So some of them looked like more, Hindi. Some of them looked more like one of them was more kind of a Mayan and Native. They were all moving around them. And I do think, apparently other people don't have this experience, but apparently I can kind of read that. And all of us have a kind of a coding sequence. What's really interesting to see how coding sequences under that work with other coding sequences. That's really fun. That's why we have these complementary and uncomplementary bonds that exist. And working from that plane. The other thing is, when I was doing that, is the movement of the mandalas was wild. I mean, they were spinning and all of us were seeing the same. They were all like doing the same kind of pulsation and movement. Actually, when I was looking at them, they were doing the thing as I envisioned it when I was having my dream. So I was like, yes.
Wow. Now, numerology feels like it comes up quite a bit. Of course,
I'm really big. Well, I studied. So for all of you out there who have been playing around with different ideas and thinking, where is this going? it's going exactly where it should. So, because I do things and I just go, like, what the hell? Because I did numerology when I was 12. So 12 to 16, 18, I read every book on numerology that I could get my hands on. And now it's kicking in. So it may take 50 years, but it happens. Like all of the things that I've done, even though they're random and they seem so completely disconnected from one another, are completely falling from the Enneagram, Course of Miracles, the Seth material, 3-in-1 hands-on kinesiology, you name it. All of those different things and design work, they're all like connecting. But this is something that I also get. I would argue we don't know the form of our own happiness. I just don't think I did. And I would argue others don't. But by allowing things come to me out of a state of letting go, that then present themselves in a way because I'm out of my own way, that then show me what that experience is like, and all I have to do is just go with it.
Yeah.
Which is easier said than done.
Yes.
But once I go with it, then the rest just takes care of itself, which is how I got to this point. Now, this part that you saw, that's only been in the last 2.5 years. In addition to that, I do gallery readings. I've done this TV show. I've got this group in Bergen County that wants me to develop different kinds of programs for them. They're big, psych group, a team of psychologists that I met with recently. So, it's moving. But again, it doesn't feel like, I don't feel frazzled by it. I just feel like I'm floating. I don't know if you've ever had that experience where you do something and it works for you and you feel like it floats because it's easy, because there's no resistance. There's no tension in it. It's just allowing it to happen. I'm very curious within this crowd, because nothing's random, what kind of talent, mad skills you guys got. Because I have a feeling
quite a bit.
What's that?
Quite a bit of unique talents among the group here, and those that some of the people that had to leave a little bit early too. A lot of Shimmy is an amazing astrologist. It's just I'll go to like her all the time for like, I feel like I'm like asking for cheat codes on life a little bit sometimes. I'm like and then you have like Sky, who's joining us from Awakening. She's just this wonderful artist, and it's just like her, like they're like art is like a dream. It's like some kind of like a dream reality, and on canvas. And
yeah, that is really, really great. So this is why it's such a shame when the little kids, we rein them in and we make them all, paint within the lines, and we structurally shame them. And then they because I've seen 3, 4, 5, 6-year-olds who really could go to the Museum of Modern Art because the color, the balance, the form, and everything is just beautiful. But when we get into our heads about it, we're trying to make it look like something, just instead of just expressing ourselves, we lose that sense of joy that comes in. Because if I look at a piece of art, I can tell if that person did it out of joy or they were just working their hands to the fray, because it has a different energy, unless that is the intention, like a Giacometti, where you're trying to make it look like that. But there's something in the process of creating something that then resonates with that process, just like a house. Certain homes have a certain energy, a certain space has a certain energy. That is also found within the artwork. This thing here, in addition, when I was talking about what people do, there was a jeweler who said, would you please give us one of your files? And I was like, okay. And then 2 months later, they gave me this.
Wow.
And I said, like, do you want to pay for it? And they're like, no, we like what you do. You wear it. So when I get on Zoom calls or I do presentations, I wear it.
Is that why we like you so much? You play tricks on us.
I'm more interested, I mean, you know, it's enough about me. I'm more interested in, for me, it's like, what are other people doing? And I just kind of feel with the work and kind of what I do, it's a kind of an energetic facilitator. So it's not so much that somebody goes out to sacred geometry, it's like, what do they do that's a direct expression of their spiritual stuff done without fear? And how does that look? And if we start doing that, you know, because I tell people, you want to change the world, be a better person. But if we, as we all do that, we really shift the conversation from neediness to self-expression. We're not looking like for this other person to rescue us or save us or fix us or tell us that we have 50,000 followers on Instagram or whatever. We just say, I love and approve of myself. I like what I do. Here we go. And the rest of it takes care of itself. And it seems maybe Pollyanna for some people, like, oh, that's just so unrealistic. But try it, you know, and because all of these things came out of that thinking. And I, you know, when I lost this little background about 2.5, 3 years ago, lost a home, lost a relationship, lost a business of 20 years, was diagnosed with an acute situational depression, was in a really bad place, but I needed that to let go. Because if I continue to hold on to a self-concept that no longer served me, I could never have had the room or the space to create this.
Mm-hmm. Right. Wow. Well, thank you, Lee. That I feel like we, as a group, as a community, it's nice to hear, because it comes up a lot, that lesson, and not only in our lives, we talk about it a lot. It comes up quite a bit in the open doorway of letting go, give into the current. You're meant to be where you are meant to be, and just go along with the ride and the journey. And because the universe isn't going to force anything that is wrong for you. It's like gravity and constellations and the gravitational force that keeps the universe together. It's just like you are being pulled to where you need to be. And so I just very happy that that gravitational pull pulled you to us and having you speak in front of us. And I'm sure if nobody noticed, I put in Lee's website for everybody to go to, check out. He does personal one-on-one reading in mandalas, and some other, of course, healing services. And as you've probably already discovered, he's just an all-around nice guy. And just fun to talk with. But so thank you, Lee. It is a pleasure having you talk with us, and I'll we'll continue. If anybody had maybe some other questions, maybe we'll continue a little. We went on a little bit longer just because we were all very fascinated with what you do, your work. So, they can always, anybody that has questions, I'm sure, can probably just find, message you online through your website, inquire into the ways that they can get their hands on some of these mandalas. So, one thing I would like to, before we wrap up, close our service with a prayer. I want to just let you know of what's coming next. Oh, if you missed it last week, when I was talking about India, I included some pictures of India. Can everybody see those? Am I sharing actually my screen? Yes, I am. So I talked about India, and those are some of the pictures that a couple pictures I took while I was in India. India always has a special place in my heart, and it's being pulled and going to where you feel like that feeling of, oh, okay, I'm in the right place and I'm meant to be here. That was the feeling I got getting off the plane to India. I felt that pull that I always wanted to go to India for some odd reason. I had the opportunity, it all just kind of fell into place. And when I got off that plane, I was like, I'm home. It felt like home. The smell, the sense, all the senses. So yeah, just can't talk enough about how beautiful the country is and the people too. The people are so warm and generous. And so yeah, UNICEF, please help out that part of the world and other parts of the world that need it. But some events coming up. We have, of course, services for next month are June 2nd, which is a Wednesday at 7 p.m. and June 20th at 5 p.m. Eastern Time, which is a Sunday. We have also our message circle. Last one of the month is coming up on May 28th, and that is with Jen Lerman, who is a talented psychic medium, incredibly talented psychic medium. I love doing circles with her, and she's also a good friend. So, and if you missed me yesterday at Port Jarvis, I'm going to be up there June 19th at 5:30 p.m. for a in-house circle, and also in-house readings, one-on-one readings if you feel called to that. June 19th is the next time I'm up in the Port Jarvis area. So if you happen to be by, please do. Or if maybe if it isn't a reading or joining us in the circle and you just want to stop by and chat and say hello, I'd love to see your faces. So yes, don't hesitate to do that. And now let's all just close our eyes for a moment and let's close the service with a prayer, the benediction. Divine Parent, thank you, and I'm sure everybody feels that, thank you in their hearts and their minds with all that we gained this evening from the healing meditation, healing energy that has been provided, from providing Lee to come and speak before us and talk about all that he is doing to heal and help others. And let that feeling and that message of that we are where we need to be and where we are meant to be. And we continue to go on that journey in the current of your light, your wisdom, to our final destination. We give in. And always in your loving embrace. Amen. So thank you all for joining and being here. Thank you, Lee, again for joining us and talking to us. And it's been a real pleasure. And yes, unmute your mics and you can express how much you enjoyed or say thank you to and say hello to Lee. And we just want to hear your voices.
Thanks a lot, and have a great night. It was fascinatingly. I was just beyond words. I was just so engrossed in what you had to say. Mm-hmm. So thank you. Have a nice night, everyone in New York.
You too. Thank you so much, Lee. I really also particularly appreciated the way you kept saying, I don't know where this is coming from. That really resonated with me. And I appreciated seeing that even though this is, you've had experiences of this sort for a long time, you still feel somewhat baffled by it. And I appreciated seeing that. So thank you so much. And what you do is phenomenal. It really blew my mind. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Yeah, really
much gratitude. Even Lee, from the last time we spoke in person, you left me with a lot, and it was just kind of it definitely felt empowering, but it also, in a sense, reconfirmed for myself that I am exactly where I need to be and I'm doing everything that I need to do. And then even yesterday at the reading with Terence, it was like a second confirmation of what you said. I was just like, all right, so all right, I hear it, I got it, I see what's going on. So that was dope.
Spirit has been talking to us.
Yeah, it's definitely expanding and definitely working things out for me too. And I even recently, Nariola, she mentioned that I need to create my own website and stuff for myself for everything that I'm doing, be it the website design, jacket design, etc. And so I was like, well, I need a logo. And
oh yes,
I actually created this. So I actually wanted to get like your opinion on this as well, because once seeing everything again today, it felt like a whole nother, it was like, wait a minute, there's some form of connection.
I definitely got something right. It's seeing into infinity. You're seeing into the infinite. Because it's an eye and it has a vanishing point, which is into infinity. So you're seeing into the infinite, and it's done very beautifully. Very, it doesn't have to be complicated. It's beautiful. It's the simpler is better, really. And it just is clean. Yeah, it's lovely.
Thank you. Definitely warms my heart hearing that from you too. Oh yeah.
Abby, one of our family members of the Open Doorway, she's been with us for a long time. There's two periods or shifts in the Open Doorway history, and I call them the Paul days and then not the now days. But yeah, she joined us back in the Paul days when Paul was, my godfather, was speaking and giving talks and giving messages. But she had to leave, but she just wanted to say, she messaged that thank you, Lee, for sharing with us all about your art processes and what an incredible gift, and much love to all. And I just wanted to share that little note, before we do sign off. Yeah, just really fantastic. Was there anything else anybody else wanted to get off their chest before I close the meeting and whatnot, and probably get Lee has to move on into doing his work. So he may dream more mandalas tonight.
Much gratitude.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Yes, many blessings to all, and thank you for being here. No mistake that you were here.
Yes.
Okay. Well, bye, y'all. I'm going to end.
Good night. Thank you.
Thank you, Lee.
Really quickly, Terence.
Good night, everyone.
Did you change the name to Destin and Sky?
Yes, I did.
Okay, because I felt like maybe I just jumped into another dimension before, during a meditation or something. Okay. All right, cool.
You're not imagining it.
Bye, everyone.
Thank you.
Later.